Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's lecture. So, today we're going to continue on kind of a little summary of going over the anatomy of the heart. This video is going to be a specific video going over the pathway of blood through the heart. So, we're going to describe the pathway of blood through the heart from the pulmonary to the systemic circuit and how it moves through. So, now that we know the structures, we can look at how blood moves through the heart. And when I'm studying this and learning this, I always think about the blood moving through my own heart. It's weird to think of, but it does help make it a little easier. Imagine the blood returning from your system to the right side of your heart and then going to your lungs, from your lungs back to your left side of your heart, and then back out to your system. So remember, you have two different systems. You have the pulmonary circuit, which goes to the lungs. Then you have the systemic circuit, which goes to the rest of the body. So you're returning first. I always start where we're returning from. So we're returning from the systemic circuit. So deoxygenated blood is returning via either the superior vena cava or the inferior vena cava right here. So coming back in to the right atrium, from the right atrium moving through the tricuspid valve, and then from the right ventricle then pushes it out through the pulmonary valve, which is a semilunar valve, and then out through the pulmonary trunk through the left or the right pulmonary arteries. And here you can notice these arteries are blue. That's because the definition of artery is going away, and the definition of vein is going towards the heart. So these arteries are going away from the heart, so they are blue, carrying deoxygenated blood back to the lungs. So here we have deoxygenated blood going back to the lungs. It gets reoxygenated then in the lungs and then comes back via the pulmonary veins because we're now going towards the heart. So here you see the right and the left pulmonary veins coming in to the left atrium. From the left atrium, they go through the mitral or the bicuspid valve into the left ventricle. Left ventricle then contracts and pushes it out the aortic valve, up the ascending aorta, around the aortic arch into the system. Here would then be the thoracic or descending aorta then. This one would be the brachiocephalic, which becomes the right common carotid, right subclavian, right axillary, and brachial. And then here, this is the left common carotid. This is then the left subclavian becoming the axillary and the brachial. In a future video, we'll go over more of those circulatory pathways, which is a little refresher from what we also added on from the last video. And pretty much, you just draw them as big pipe diagrams then. So that's the pathway of blood. Very, very simple and straightforward. Think about it moving through your body. And then also, not only that, teach someone. If you can tell someone the pathway of blood through the heart, you know it. Now, what I have here is a little way to study this differently. So here you have all this ups, downs, and arounds. How can we simplify this to make it easier to study and kind of look at this and kind of like it's a circuit? So here, let's just in white, let's start with the system up here. So we have the system. The system has blue. Let me make this a little thicker. Has blue deoxygenated blood returning to the heart, either the superior vena cava or the inferior vena cava. That's then returning to the heart into the right atrium. So this would be the right atrium. And then continues on in. Let's make this blue a little lighter to see it a little better. Sorry, the blue is going to change a little bit just to brighten it up a bit. In the right atrium, then comes through. The right atrium will then contract and push that blood through our first little valve. So here, we can draw this valve. I'll make it green. This valve is the tricuspid valve. Has 3 cusps on it. And then you can also even add on to this. We won't get too crazy into it, but you have the chordae tendineae that are found on it to help hold the valve in place, along with the little papillary muscles which let's just do those in pink here, which are found on there too. So those would be the papillary muscles, and those papillary muscles constrict and cause the valve to shut right prior to the ventricles contracting so that the blood does not go back into the atria and it pumps the direction it's supposed to pump. All right, let's continue on through here. So now those ventricles contract and push it out the next valve. Next, we get to the pulmonary valve. So here we have the pulmonary valve. And from the pulmonary valve, you contract, you go out that, and now we're going to the lungs to get reoxygenated. So here we come to the lungs. And remember, you go to the lungs, let me redraw this line, via the left and the right. You leave via the pulmonary trunk, and then it's the left and right pulmonary going away, so arteries. And then we go back to the lungs. We get reoxygenated, so now we become red again. Oh, I forgot to label this as the right ventricle. My bad. And then we come back to the lungs via the left and the right pulmonary veins. So don't remember arteries versus veins as carrying oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, because in the pulmonary circuit here going to the lungs, that is different. Veins and arteries are kind of backwards in a way, but they're not also. It's just sometimes we think of arteries versus veins as red versus blue, and it's not that simple. But then, of course, you come back into the left side, so this would be the left atrium. Now, this is where this figure is not anatomically correct, because the left atrium would be, of course, on the superior side. What I'm trying to get here is this little circuit that we make, labeling the things and just help you understand the pathway a little better. So the blood then moves through the left atrium and we come to the next valve, which can make as green here. So here would be the next valve. This would be the bicuspid valve. So bicuspid, or also known as the mitral valve. Again, this would have the chordae tendineae on it and the papillary muscles too, but I'm not going to draw those again. Then we go through that, and then into, of course, the left ventricle. And then from the left ventricle, we have one more valve. This is the aortic valve. So remember, the aortic valves and the pulmonary valves are semilunar valves. The bicuspid and the tricuspid valves are atrioventricular valves. And then blood pumps out through that aortic valve, out via the aorta. Now, there are some other parts to it. We'll just roughly say aorta to the system, and then goes through a capillary bed and feeds the body. There could also be, there's a branch right off the aorta right here where it actually feeds the, so you have the left and the right coronary artery. And then that feeds right back into the right atrium. So the coronary arteries are what feed the heart then, because the heart needs a lot of blood going to it. But as you can see here, what we made, if I zoom out a little further, I guess, is a little circuit showing the pathway going from the systemic circuit up above all the way to the lungs down below. So I hope this is a nice way to kind of summarize the last video going over the anatomy of the heart. This is all I'm going to have today, well, in this video. So a little short one today. Just wanted to focus on this pathway of blood. But if you have any questions, like always, please reach out and let me know. But if not, have a great rest of your day, and bye-bye.